This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe and welcome to our circle.
Well, hello every morning. See, I haven't had enough coffee today. Hello, everyone. This is Patricia W. Fisher with Readers Entertainment Radio, and I am super excited to be here today because we have an amazing writer talking to us today. But first, let me say happy Thursday to all of you out there, and know that it is National Military Appreciation Month. So be sure, if you don't already, you see a service member, please say thank you for serving. If you see someone with a cap on that says veteran, just say thank you for serving. It takes you like 5 seconds, and a lot of times people simply just, it's just a good appreciation thing to do. It's just a generosity and lovely thing to do. It is also National Nurses Day, which goes without saying. We always need nurses, and they're always amazing. And they have been working their butts off, if they weren't already before the pandemic hit. They are really just, a lot of them are exhausted. So if you know someone who's a nurse, just say thank you. Maybe offer to bring them dinner one day, or pick up the kids. If you have your kids all at the same school, if you're at the grocery store, little gestures like that add up. And so that's really for anybody. But, man, nurses just really work their butts off. And the last thing I wanted to mention was it is Foster Care Awareness Month. And this is a really big deal for me because this week, 9 years ago, 2 little ones walked in our front door. And thankfully, the way that their case was set up, they stayed. And so we'll be celebrating 9 years of them walking in our door and becoming a permanent part of our family. So foster care is an amazing, amazing journey. It isn't for everyone. But if you have ever considered being a foster parent or a foster adoptive parent, please look into it. A group called Together We Rise is a really good group to look at for solid information. They're on Instagram and Twitter and everyone, Facebook. And so, but it's Together We Rise, and they do some amazing work. So look into them. And so, but in the meantime, let me close the door because my dog is barking at a leaf that's outside. So I'd prefer she not have input on this one. But we have an amazing guest today. Her name is Priscilla Oliveras. She's been on the show before. She is a USA Today bestselling author, 2018 Rita double finalist, who writes contemporary romance with a Latinx flavor. Proud of her Puerto Rican Mexican heritage, she strives being authenticity to her novels by sharing her Latinx culture with readers. She and her work have earned praise from the Oprah Magazine, Washington Post, New York Times, Entertainment Weekly, Publishers Weekly, and Booklist, among others. Since earning her MFA in writing popular fiction from Seton Hill University, Priscilla now serves as an adjunct facility in the program and teaches online classes romance writing for her ed2go.com site. And so it's E as in egg, D as in dog, 2, the number 2, go. And so if you wanted to take a class online, it's an informal class. She's teaching one. While she's devoted to the devotee of a romance genre, Priscilla's also a sports fan, beach lover, and Zumba aficionado who often practices the art of napping in her backyard hammock. As you can call it all research, I think. You can find her on her website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all the links in the write-up of the show. Her latest release, Anchored Hearts, is out right now. Welcome to the show, Priscilla. How are you, my dear?
Hi, it's wonderful to be here this morning. I'll tell you, I was writing notes. I'm like, I totally forgot that it was Military Appreciation Month. I'm in the middle of it. I had a book due, a revision due on Monday. But as the daughter of a military, a career Navy, and the sister of an officer serving in the military right now, and the aunt of a nephew who is just joined the Marine Corps and is in his training. I know I have lots of calls I need to make today, but you're right, it is really important just when you see a military person to think about the sacrifices that they and their family as well make, having a military career. And so even a simple thank you, I know my papi, I know my relatives appreciate it. And my sister is a nurse. She's a nursing scientist researcher, so I have double duty today when we talk to tell her, Happy National Nurses Day, and so thank you for those notes. But I'm pleased to be here to talk about Anchored Hearts and whatever fun questions you have in mind.
Yeah, well, and something else to point out with military is when you thank the person that's wearing the hat or the shirt, or they're in uniform, if their spouse is with them or their kids, say thank you to them too, because it's a big sacrifice. And I know a lot of people think, but they signed up. It's like, that's true. The draft is done. People do sign up, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be appreciate what they do. It's like not saying thank you to the doctor that takes your appendix out so you won't die. Like you can say thank you. It's okay.
Yes, because you're right. It is like my sister's been deployed multiple times, separated, from her family, like a lot of, of military people, and so it's not just the one serving that that has to deal with the military life. So yes, a small thank you, or you're waiting in line at Starbucks and you buy them the Starbucks if you can, right?
Right.
But just the in passing thank you for your service is a nice gesture to make. But and I'll tell you, being the daughter of a Navy cryptologic technician is how I wound up living in Key West and through junior high, all of high school, graduated from Key West High, which has led to the book that the series that I have now that's set in Key West. So it was the Navy that took us there.
All right. Well, that's a good spot for the Navy, that's for sure. My dad was in the Navy 60 to 64 in San Diego. He said it was a good experience for him because he was just kind of trying to find some direction. He's 18 and just really wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his life. He said it was good in the sense of it really kind of put his perspective there. But he talks very fondly of, he's always loved the beach. We grew up in Houston, and so it wouldn't be unusual to everyone get thrown in the car at 7 o'clock in the morning and just drive down to Galveston for the whole day. Now, Galveston's not Key West Beach for sure, or San Diego, but it is the beach.
But it's the beach, It's like the sidewalk, right?
That's right. It does. My dad was the same way, the youngest of 9, and so when he was of age, he wanted to see something different. He was born actually where you are, San Antonio, born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, and he wanted to see, something different, experience something different, and so he joined the military, and that's what led him to Puerto Rico, where he met my mom. Yep. Oh, nice.
So I will, So,
I have very good, I'm in San Antonio, like you said, and so we have a ton of military. We have, let's see, I think we have 3, we had 4 military bases, which is just crazy to think of in one city, but in a big city. But we have 3 now. And, Randolph Brooks, we have Brooke Army Medical Center, Fort Sam. And this is where a lot of the medical military is trained, is here. And so, and then it was, not unusual to go downtown on weekends and see all the cadets. They get released for a little bit to go walk around. So there's always
when they're there for their basic their flight training and they finally get out. It's nice to, like, you see them down at the Riverwalk with their families who are there for the weekend for their graduation. My sister was stationed, she was Army and then transitioned to Air Force. So she was actually at Fort Sam years ago. And then most recently she was at Kelly. She was, so she was stationed there, which was always wonderful because then, she was near a lot of familia. My dad, we saw a lot of familia there. Still in San Antonio, so it was nice for her to be stationed right where family was. So
when you guys grew up, were you you had a bilingual household, correct?
Yes, I spoke Spanish first because my mom spoke English, but she mostly spoke Spanish. And then as she moved around with my dad in the military, and she got started working later outside of the house. She started speaking English more, so a lot more English in the household, like what she was practicing and stuff.
Right. Well, So when my mother's dad, his parents immigrated from Denmark, and so that was in 1918. And so the anti-German feeling in the United States was so fierce. They wouldn't speak Danish outside the house, and so I always asked them, it's like, how did you juggle that? So they'd speak Danish at home, but then it got to the point where they just transitioned all to English. So when you were home, it was a mix. So you would still be practicing both languages the whole time, like your mom.
I will say, as we got older, we started speaking more and more English. So I don't feel like little things like I'm always messing up some grammatical things in Spanish. And a lot of my Latina girlfriends, that grew up like either in Puerto Rico or in their various countries, or just spoke it more than I did. We'll tease, we'll joke, or I'll be in the middle of saying something and I'll be like, "Ay, cómo se dice?" Right? Like, how do you say? So I'm fluent in Spanish, and I can have a conversation, and I can read it slowly. But like my mom, one of the things that she does with my manuscripts, because I write with Latinx characters, is she checks the Spanglish. Do I have the accent right? One thing that she's caught, my first series, the Match to Perfection series with the Fernandez sisters, they are Puerto Rican, they're Puerto Ricanas living in and around the Chicago area. But one of the track change notes that my mommy made when in one of the manuscripts, there was like a Spanish word or a phrase, in Spanglish, and she said, "Bueno, look, you can say the word, or you can say it like that, but and that's how your cousins in San Antonio and in Texas would say it. But remember, in Puerto Rico, we use this word, and in our house, we would use those interchangeably because we understood them both, right? But to be true to the Fernandez sisters, who wouldn't be speaking Mexican idioms and Mexican, slangs, because there are differences, slight differences. I needed to make sure I used the Puerto Rican word. And I do think in Anchored Hearts, there is one word that, because in Anchored Hearts, they're a Cuban familia. And I'm not Cuban, so I did rely on a lot of our Cuban friends. We have a strong Cuban community that my mom is close friends with from when we lived on the military base in Cuba, and we've just maintained those relationships. But there's one word for the green plantain when we let it soften and ripen, and so it starts to turn yellow, and then you fry it. In Puerto Rico, we call a term for that food is amarillo, which just means yellow.
Right.
The Cubans understand that word, but the word that they use is maduro. Like, so if you go to a Cuban restaurant and they ask you, do you want fried, plantains on the side, we would say maduros is what you would call them. And I know that, but in Anchored Hearts, I think there is a scene, and I use the word amarillo, which is the Puerto Rican word that we would use, like, amarillo, like, do you want amarillo? And my mom didn't catch that one either, and the reader caught it in the arc, but it was too late to change it. So, So that's so I know it's in there. No one else has pointed it out to me. I don't know why I'm pointing it out now to the world on your radio station, but probably an example of. So my mom read the book multiple times through different phases, right? And I did too, and my sister read it, and it shows why you can be reading a book and you might find a typo. It's because they slip through the cracks sometimes. You know what I mean? So many people can read your book going before it actually hits the world, and there's still going to be some little thing that all those pairs of eyes didn't catch. And it brings up a good point, because there's been a lot of discussion in the past year or two about diversity in publishing and having someone who understands what you're trying to write, and it does say that there are certain things, like you're talking about regional dialects and regional slang, and what you use here versus there. Like something similar is in Texas, you would ask if someone said, "Can I have a Coke?" and the people would say, "What kind?" And of course, if you came from New England, you say, "Well, it's a Coke." It's like, no, there's Sprite, there's root beer. It's like it's used interchangeably for soda or pop. Or
I'd like a tea. Well, I'll bring you iced tea. It's like, no, I want hot tea. Well, nobody drinks hot tea in San Antonio. I mean, come on, it's 9,000 degrees, So, but I mean, it's all regional. So having that there, and those are very minor examples. But I mean, for someone who is that's the language,
true.
that's the culture. But it's important to have those people that are in, like you're saying, like you pulled from people who are Cuban, so So tell me about you. So Anchored Hearts is the second book of this series.
Yes. Mhm. Okay. Island Affair. Island Affair is book one. It came out last May. Mhm.
Right. And so now we have Anchored Hearts. So tell me about Anchored Hearts because it's a second chance romance.
Yes. So Anchored Hearts, it's a second chance romance between Ana Maria Navarro, and is the heroine, and Alejandro Miranda, and they were high school sweethearts. Their plan was to graduate and kind of go see the world. Alejandro knew he wanted to be a professional photographer. Okay. And Ana Maria didn't know yet what she wanted to be, but she comes from, in the series, the series revolves around one main familia, the Navarro familia. So like book one is Luis Navarro's story. This is Ana Maria's. She wasn't sure what she wanted, but she did know that she assumed they would go out and explore and see the world, but Key West would be their home base. And Alejandro and his father have a big rift. Alejandro wants to create his own legacy as a photographer, but as the oldest son, it was expected that he would stay home, take over the family restaurant that was, created in honor of his grandfather from, originally from Cuba. And so when he graduates, his papi tells him, look, if you leave to go do your own thing, don't come back. So Alejandro does exactly that. They graduate, and Ana Maria cannot leave with him because her father is in the hospital. He leaves expecting that she's going to come, but he leaves telling her, look, I'm not coming back. And the idea was that she would meet up with him at some point. But when he flipped that switch on her, her not knowing, really what it was that she wanted in life, she stayed behind. And so their breakup was not amicable. And it's 12 years later, and kind of like the idea behind it is the prodigal son returns to the island that, he wants to call home, and the woman who broke his heart but who he's never forgotten. And that's where it starts off, where he's forced to come back home. He has not been home for 12 years. He's forced to come back home because he's injured after a photo shoot in Puerto Rico. And so he comes back home unwillingly, and both of their moms happen to be best friends, and so we have some meddling mommies in the mix who are determined to bring their kids back together. But it's a second chance romance for Ana Maria and Alejandro, but I also think of it as a second chance between Alejandro and his dad. Because that rift between them is still there. And I do try to write about familia, drama, real life things that are going on. I don't have a lot of spies and espionage and things like that in my book. But so there's a romance with familia drama, and their moms in there adding a little bit of humor.
Well, I mean, families can add a lot of drama. They really, I mean, you don't even have to go very far. I mean, you can just read People magazine every week and somebody's got something weird going on. So, I mean, and it's funny because I used to work in the emergency room, and I would come home, and some of the stuff was just like, what is going on in the world? I mean, but I had friends of mine work OB, labor and delivery, and that was, that was always interesting.
Wow.
So it's, having different people show up for, delivery. So,
families all kinds, right? There's there's blood family, there's found family, like the ones that you make, that you create for yourself. My two series have been about, a familia. I'll say that with the Fernandez sisters, they bickered like sisters do, but they got along really well. And so one of my things I wanted when I was creating the Keys to Love series, especially in book one, Luis, and there are 4 Navarro siblings. The older one is is already married and has kids, and then it's Luis, Ana Maria, and then Enrique is the youngest one. And in book one, Luis has a big rift with his brother, with Enrique, and that's part of Luis's story arc. But I wanted to make sure, I thought, things were kind of sweet with the Fernandez sisters, and there are families like that, but yeah. I also wanted to, show that they're, in our familia, and a lot of Latinx familias, and I think in other families in general, we're taught, and Luis says it in book one, like, even though, he and Enrique are at odds and they're not talking very much, they still meet every week for the mandatory familia dinner, the mandatory Navarro familia dinner, and he knows that if his brother needed anything, Luis would be there for him. He might be pissed off at him, right? And he might not be talking very much to him, but he would be there to help, when needed. And so that idea of, and I think that's what our romance novels are about, is they are the romance novel of today, how we've evolved, is they are examples of healthy relationships and characters who put in the work to look at themselves and how, their own self-growth, right? So that they're healthier people or in healthier places, but surrounding themselves not just with their partner, with their romantic partner, but also the other people in their, small society, who they, live and love and work with on a close basis. So they're to me, our genre, why it's so important, especially over like this past year, but at all times, is, and why it's important for there to be diversity, so that anybody, has the opportunity to see themselves on the pages of a book that's celebrating the relationships and the power of love.
Right. I mean, it's interesting you said that about, they don't really talk to each other, but if they needed anything, it's kind of like, I can visualize them bickering at each other while, if one of them needs a kidney, the other one's rolling up the sleeve to get blood tested while they're bickering,
Yes.
It's that kind of thing. They're still arguing, but it's like they're just not even thinking twice about, getting tested to see if they match. So, yeah, I mean, and I think there's a lot of families, you don't get along all the time, and that's okay. I think it's finding that common ground once again, and finding that love. Why? I mean, yes, there are times that you're kind of forced to be family, whether you're, siblings or what have you, but then there's the families we choose. And you're right. The romance world right now has just got some amazing authors, and the core of it is love, and whether it's love for a lover or your friends or your parents, or I mean, it's and we need that. We all need that.
Yeah. Gosh,
it's unhealthy if not. And I think that's what's gotten us through the past year. It's gotten us through very difficult times in general. So it's just so important. It's so. What has been the most fun about you? You teach the course online, and what has been the most fun about that class? Like, have you had people come to you and go, wow, I had no idea it was so much work, or even, wow, I came up with this great idea, thank you. I mean, because there's always someone's like, I always wanted to write a book. I can just sit down, and it's like, you go ahead and try that. So let's see what happens.
Right. I mean, I'll be honest. When I first started, I was a college student. I had to take a semester off. I was then, at that point, I was married, and I was a military spouse and college student and a new mother, and we had a surprise military move. So I had to move from Florida all the way to California, and so I had to take a semester off. And I needed something mentally, like, to be challenging, something that I was working on because I was used to being a full-time student. And and so I thought, well, you know what? I enjoy reading. I mean, I love romance novels. My major is English. I've written short stories. I'm just going to write a book this semester. Like, how hard could that be? Right. Famous last words. So yes, in the class, But I did it. I finished. So that was it was a really powerful moment getting to the end of the book. And so that's what I would say. If there's a beginning author out there who's questioning, start and keep going. Get words on the page, even if it's 100 words a day. Right, you're slowly getting closer to the end. But in the class, I have students who I've had students that said they've never read a romance novel. They just thought the class sounded interesting, and then
Right.
Thankfully, that first lesson, I asked people to introduce themselves and, on the message board online, and share some of their keeper shelf novels or keeper shelf authors. So if there are people that have said they've never read or they're interested in a different subgenre, I point them towards, look at the recommendations of the other students, and I share some of mine. But then I have people who, yes, come because they want to write, they're working on or trying to write a romance. I have others that have come and they're writing a different genre, but they want to learn about adding a believable romantic thread to their story. And for those people, I totally applaud because, it's a testament to their dedication to their story and wanting to get things right for all readers.
Exactly.
Instead of just throwing this couple all, together, because as a romance reader, when I read another book or when I watch a movie and a couple thrown together and you can tell that it was just, well, they wanted to, check a box, there's a romance in here. I can tell that. But the class itself, I enjoy what I really enjoy is there are times where I was just giving a presentation to a different writers group, and two people, a virtual one, a Zoom one, and two people in there both said, oh, hey, I took your class, X number of years ago, or I took your class last year, and it really helped. And so connecting with students and seeing that they're, in that way, and seeing that they're still, working at it and improving their craft. I love to hear from students afterwards about, what they have going on and that kind of thing, because it's an online class, so we don't ever meet face-to-face. I always hope afterwards that they'll reach out. I have a Facebook page for the class, or shoot me an email, to touch base. But there are so many other authors, writers, and industry professionals in Romancelandia that have been helpful to me along the way, that, when I had the opportunity to create the class for Cengage Learning for Ed2Go, I see it as a way that I can hopefully share, some of what I've learned and along the way to help others who are starting out or wanting a refresher, or for whatever reason it is that they come to take a class. I think it's a way to give back in one sense.
Right. And it's interesting, too, because I think I've taught a class about adding romantic elements to your story for non-romantic. Right. Yeah. I was at a conference a few years ago. And it was amazing to me, the idea that people didn't, it seems obvious to us, but it's like, we're not talking about the sex scenes, guys. We're talking about the romance part. And people are going, what? Yeah. And it's like, no, we'll talk about the intimacy, but the real intimacy is building that up. I mean, you don't just throw two people together and have had no connection. No one's going to want that. I mean, obviously some people do, but it's just that's not what we're talking about. So it was very interesting. And the funniest part, and this is being very oversimplifying it, it's like the women would go, oh, yeah, yeah, and the guys would be like, really?
Huh? Yeah.
Take note, guys. Yes. Dudes, this is applicable in everyday world. So,
right. Yes. And I think within our genre, we could get into a whole teaching thing here, right? But there are specific beats. There are specific elements that if you can use the term beats if you're using the crash book by Gwen Hayes, Romancing the Beat, or I use elements because I also rely on Pamela Regis's A Natural History of a Romance novel that talks about the 8 essential elements and the 3 optional or incidental elements. There are different beats that a romance, it doesn't matter if it's a book, 100,000 words, if it's a 25,000 word novella, there are beats that you hit and that build the intimacy, even if it's like a Harlequin Desire where, they're getting, intimate, like bodily intimate real soon, right? But they're still, because a romance novel isn't just about those intimate scenes like you mentioned, so you want your reader at the end of the book to truly believe that this couple, whether it's a YA and they're in high school and they've just, they're just going to prom and, hopefully they'll get married, but this is high schoolers, so who knows? But in this moment, their relationship has a chance. And I'm not left wondering if the next day it's all going to blow up, right? So
like
in order
literally.
for the reader, yeah. In order for the reader to believe that, yes, this is a true happily for now, HFN, or happily ever after, HEA, it's because the character grows and because the relationship is built on more than just that lust, or there's an true emotional connection, and it has to be shown on the page for a reader to believe that.
And it's interesting. Well, with like the Hallmark movies are kind of a good example in the sense of if you're looking for the beats, because they're very good about, you have, the intro, the meet cute, whether it's they're reconnecting or they're meeting for the first time, and you have these little beats, like maybe they hold hands or they lean into each other, the first kiss, those kind of things. And so they're just really, it's just very, you could watch it and time it, and within a few minutes of every one, there's that, thing that happens.
Right.
And Hallmark is now, they'll have more than one kiss now. They used to have just the one kiss. It was usually and it was like, come on.
Multiple interruptions before them. But yes, we were watching one recently, and we were like, wait a minute, they kissed already. Hold on. What happened here?
What is happening?
There are a lot, and in my class I talk about, especially for those who are new to the romance genre or don't write romance genre, but are taking the class, right, for whatever reason. It's a lot easier. I say, look, if you don't have a keep yourself book, or you don't have time because we lead busy lives to like read a whole romance, to study the elements that we're talking about this week, watch a rom-com or a romance film, right? But, so like you can watch Hitch, or you can watch You've Got Mail, or you can watch To All the Boys I've Loved Before, right? And look for these different beats that we're talking about in the class so you can see. And the beauty is they're not, some people say, oh, yes, romance is so formulaic. You just have to hit these points. No, because you and I could be writing a second chance romance, and we're going to have, two different, unique love interests as our leads. And we're going to hit those elements, but in different ways. And that's the beauty of the romance, right? Like, I in my class I give a presentation actually dissecting the romance plot with You've Got Mail, and we talk about that we're like each, either you can say we're scientists in our own labs, and we mix and match elements and the optional ones if our own ways, and with each of our books, they're not the same. But if we're missing one of those elements, a reader will be able to tell. They might not be able to say, oh, it didn't have, the point of ritual death, right, or whatever. But they're going to know that something was off with that book. If there's not enough conflict, and whatever it is that's missing, a diehard romance reader, and that's what most of us are, we'll be able to tell that something just kind of wasn't right.
Well, one of the movies that I've mentioned to people before that is a romance that a lot of people don't grasp initially is Red, but with Bruce Willis and Mary Elizabeth Parker. Yeah, Parker. And it's everything in that movie he does to be with her, and she does the same. She sticks around because she wants to be with him, and everything is driven by this relationship. And, of course, a lot of guys, I was talking to my husband, I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is a romance. He's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, it is. The whole, if you took their relationship out of it, there would be no point to this. They would just kind of be taking care of business and it'd be done. But she's involved, so it's a different path that he would take versus him just taking care of it. And and it's just so good because it's so delightfully fun. And, there's parts in it that you're like, wow, that's a little cringeworthy. But, violence-wise. But, the whole story is based on do they get together? So it's just so smart. And I think funny I don't know who. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, what were you going to say? You don't know
Go ahead.
who? I'm sorry, interrupting.
I said I don't know who pitched it, but I doubt they pitched it as a romance. I bet they pitch it as
That's
action.
exactly what I was going to say. It depends on who, you know, like even, and I don't want to, you know, stick with the stereotype of men say this, women say this, right? But staying with the men are from Mars, you know, idea, concept, like
right,
or whatever. The way you and your husband both, perfect example, right? If someone pitched a movie to me, like, hey, Priscilla, do you want to go pre-pandemic, because I have not been to the movie theaters, but if you want to go to the movie, right, you should pitch me Red the way you just pitched it. Because if your husband's version pitched it to me, I might be like, well, okay, but you know, if there's, because I'll go to a movie and it can be a great movie and I'll say, oh yeah, it was good, right? It was really good. But what would make it even better was if there was a romance thread. That's why so many people have asked me, do you think you'll ever write any other kind of genre? And I don't say no, never, because, you know, life has no funny way of laughing at you when you say something like that. But I would say if I wrote another genre or tried, I would almost guarantee that there's going to be a romantic thread in it. Because as a reader, if I was picking up that book, I would appreciate there being a good romantic thread in there. So as a writer, I tend thus far to have written what I enjoy reading. You know, so, but it's funny the way that movie the two different ways, the two different perspectives of pitching that movie.
Yeah, I know. It took me a couple of times. I'm like, wait a minute. You know, it was just because my husband was like, hey, watch this, and it's Bruce Willis, and things are blowing up. I'm like, okay, sure. And Morgan Freeman and Helen Mirren. You know, I mean, why wouldn't you want to watch this movie? And then, of course, we watched the second one because you do. And then they'd added a few other characters, and it's still the same theme. But the beauty of it is the development of her character. It's like she's just this girl that works to help people process their Social Security checks, and she's thrown into this thing. And it's fun because for anyone who hasn't seen it, Bruce Willis is a retired CIA operative, and he keeps calling saying his checks aren't showing up every month for his retirement, his pension. Well, they are. He's just burning them. He's calling to talk to her. And she lives this really boring life, and she's reading these – what was it she says? And she's like, I'm reading this book. He's like, how is it? She's like, it's awful and fabulous, and, you know, it's just like Love, Savage Secret or something like that.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
So he starts reading the book. So it's just really, and he does it in such a cool way.
No, I'm writing it down right now. I'm writing the name down right now in my little notebook here, so I can, after I hit my revisions, I have revisions due on Monday. So once I can breathe a little bit, I'm going to have to see if I can find it on Netflix or on some streaming somewhere, to watch it again, because it's been a while. But it has a stellar cast, and it is a nice little romance amidst all the things being blown up.
Right, and it's got a second chance romance in it too.
It does? Which one?
Yeah, Helen Mirren's character.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, it has been a while. It has been a while since I've seen it. She's so wonderful.
Oh, man, she's amazing. I want to be her when I grow up.
Yeah.
Her or Judi Dench, you know?
Oh, my goodness, yes. Talk about good heroines. Great heroines to have in your stories, in your, you know, as role models. And I think that's one way that you know, I mentioned earlier, like the evolution of the romance novel, and I think that's where today's romance heroine is a strong woman, even if she is quiet. You know, like in my second book, Her Perfect Affair, Rosa is the middle child, and you know she is the responsible one. She gets things done when the girls, when their mother passed away, when the older two were in high school. Rosa kind of stepped into that mode. And everybody always expects her to do like the right thing, and it's not a surprise because it's on the spine of the book, but she has a one night with a dear family friend that she's had a crush on for ages, and she winds up pregnant. And Jeremy is the guy who wants to do the right thing, and Rosa surprises everybody by turning him down when he says we should get married. And so she has a quiet strength that comes out. And so it's not that today's heroine needs to be all butt kicking and strapping on a weapon and fighting the bad guys, but she has her own agency, and it's no longer, our decades ago, romance often was the woman, the heroine needing to be saved by the strung out world. Maybe she needs saving, but she's going to be part of the process, right? And
right.
Or she might be the one doing the saving. And so I think that a part of the evolution of the romance novel that as a writer present day I'm enjoying is the depiction of healthy relationships, but also depiction of women and coming into their own and being, yes, at the end of the novel they're together, and maybe but Sarah would be okay, Ana Maria would be okay if something happened and she wasn't with them, right?
Right.
If they're not together, newsflash out there, it's not a romance if they're not together. So the couples will be together, but they're strong on their own, both of them, right? In anchored hearts, what they both need to learn, especially it's Alejandro's really needs to learn it in regards to Ana Maria, and she is starting to learn at the beginning of the book, is that it's okay to go for your dreams and your loved ones, if they are deserving of being, your loved ones, then they're supportive of you, and now you find the two of be fulfilled, in your careers, but also have that home base that you can rely on to come back to.
Right.
It's
not an all or nothing thing.
Yeah. Yes. And, because unfortunately I feel like, I will say, especially in the Latinx, a lot of Latinas, there's a lot of self-sacrifice, and you put everybody first, and you're, maybe settle for what you have instead of, going for what you really want oftentimes. And I think that was Ana Maria's problem at the beginning of the book. And the book starts, and she's already been doing for the last 12 years is kind of like, living okay, but like waiting, and what am I waiting for? Who am I waiting for? And she has decided to go after what she wants. And then of course Alejandro comes back. So
throws a bit of a wrench in the
reevaluation or seeing how that affects. But it was fun to write because on the fair, that book is kind of like a welcome to my island home. I've wanted for a long time. My first book that I ever wrote was actually set in Key West. It was bad for a whole bunch of reasons, but I knew I'm not to take.
Oop, you're fading in and out.
Or quote unquote. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're here.
It's gotten really dark over here all of a sudden, but I'm figuring myself should be okay. We're not on Wi-Fi. But I've known for a while that I wanted to quote unquote take readers home with me to Key West, and so in book one, Luis is a conch born and raised in Key West, but Sarah is a tourist. So a lot of the Key West tales in book one are a lot of places that people would come to see, because that's what Luis is doing with Sarah and her family. And I wanted readers who had been to Key West to visit to hopefully finish the book and feel like they had relived their time there and now enjoyed it with Luis and Sarah. For people who have never been to Key West, I wanted them to feel like they got a taste of it, like, welcome to our island. But with book two, Ana Maria and Alejandro were born and raised there, and so part of the second chance romance, where what makes it hard or what makes it angsty is that in the second chance romance, the love interests know how good it can be when they're together, but they also know like how painful it can be when things aren't good between them.
Right.
And so the two of them are reliving like old high school memories of their, when they were. And I had a chance to think back and share some memories of like when my sister and I, so like when Ana Maria and Alejandro talk about hanging out at the beach, and at Astro City Park across the street. Like those are things that my sister and I did, in high school. And Ana Maria mentioned taking her nephew to Queen, and my sister worked at Dairy Queen, and my dad was a night manager. So that's a place. So I share like different little places around the island than I did in book one, but this one is more like Anchored Hearts is a little bit more like an homage to those who have grown up there and still live there, or grew up and had to move away, but like just hopefully, sharing a little bit of what it's like to be living on the island full time.
Right,
so
because
both
the
of the books
perspective is
were
going to be
special
different.
To write.
Yeah,
a little bit.
You've lived there the whole time, because you're not going to go hang out at all the tourist spots. You've got your own little nooks and places that you're going to hang out for being there all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Like my friends that live there will go, like they're small, like off the way, as off the way as you can get in Key West because it's, a small island, but places that they'll go eat or that they'll hang out on a Friday, if they do that. So I've enjoyed taking readers to Key West in both books, but, in different ways.
Yeah. Well, I so appreciate you being here today. When is the third book coming? Are you going to have a third book, I should ask?
Yes. Well, I do have a story for Enrique. Enrique's the younger brother. Unfortunately, the little rascal is telling me he's not quite ready to settle down yet. And the way publishing works, why my contract with Kensington was 2 books and then an option. We had not confirmed like the option yet, and I had another series idea that we sold to a different publisher, and so that one needs to take precedence. So actually right now I'm working on a new series that book 1 is set in San Antonio. It's with a group of sisters who form a mariachi band, and the 2 books are like loose retellings of Shakespeare plays, of musicals based off of Shakespeare plays. So book 1 is called West Side Love Story, and it's about there are battling mariachi bands in a competition, and there's a thread about gentrification over on the west side where the sisters live. And so right now I am in revision with the first Campo Sisters book, and I'm excited to take readers. That should be coming out next summer, sometime May, June-ish. And it's the first in the series. It's right now, and I don't think the title will change. It's called West Side Love Story.
Okay.
And I will get back to I will get back to Enrique. It's a matter of when I get it in there. But I know the Navarro mom, Mami Navarro, is anxious to have all 3 of her kids, married off and starting their married life. So and I've got that story for Enrique kind of in me. So I'm letting him simmer. I'm letting him enjoy his bachelorhood for a little while longer while I play with the Campo sisters. But his time will come.
They will. Yeah, characters will tell us when they're ready, and if you don't write, you don't really understand that. And I swear we don't all have schizophrenia, but I mean it really is. It's they will just basically say okay, and it's usually in the middle of some other project or when you're driving and can't write anything down. So which is always fun.
Oh my goodness, when that happens.
They're worse than real kids.
I have had conversations while driving or while washing the dishes, or Ana Maria has had me strap on my tennis shoes and my running shoes, and we'll go for a run to have a conversation. But we do what we do or what we have to connect with our characters and hopefully help them better come to life on the page for our readers.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for being here, and please come back and talk to us when your next one out. And one thing, you do have a book with Sarah Skilton and Lori Wilde, Summer in the City.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for mentioning that, because actually, and
it comes out
next release,
month, correct? Yeah.
It's actually in like 20 days. It's a June release, but it will hit bookshelves and devices and Audible on May 25th. It's an anthology. This one, so you can head to Key West now, and then at the end of the month, you can jet up to New York City. This one, it's 3 novellas, so about 30,000 words, so quick reads in one book. And the 3 friends, each of the friends have their own story, and that's what happens. They go out on their Friday night. Saturday morning, they're planning a girls' weekend trip away, but Friday night, they go to their respective, plans, and a power outage hits all of Manhattan, like all of the boroughs. And so they are each stuck in a situation, and romance. It's a romance, obviously, so romantic shenanigans ensue. And my novella is called Lights Out. It's like a Lin-Manuel, Broadway, and baseball mashup. My hero is a rising Broadway sensation, and it's opening night of his passion project, a musical based on the life of Roberto Clemente, famous baseball player and humanitarian from Puerto Rico. And he's
so the first, he's the first Hispanic gentleman to cross the color barrier, right?
Yes.
So there was Jackie Robinson.
Thank you.
And then there was,
and then Roberto Clemente. Thank you for remembering that. Yes. And he's in the Hall of Fame, but he was a huge humanitarian. He actually died in a plane crash. He had gathered supplies, relief supplies to take to Central America. I want to say Nicaragua, but I don't want to. And his plane went down right after takeoff in Puerto Rico. But so it's opening night of Clemente, the man, the myth, the legend, and Mateo's up on stage, and in the audience is Vanessa, who they were in rival theater troupes in high school in the Tampa area. So they were interested in each other, but they never connected because, that would be that would be wrong. They were rivals. But so now as adults, Mateo is still performing, and Vanessa is a journalist, but she is a theater critic for an entity called The Fix, and she gave him a terrible review at his last performance. And so there's friction there, and Vanessa's in the audience, and that's when the lights go out, and they wind up stuck together through the course of the blackout that night. And it's a cute little, a fun little romance. I enjoyed being able to. My family were huge baseball fans. My girls and I love Broadway. Tons of people are Lin-Manuel fans, and so I kind of borrowed from his story. This is Lin-Manuel's In the Heights was a project that he started in high school and with 2 friends, and just kind of built from there. And so that's kind of the idea behind Roberto Clemente's the musical, and that Mateo's been working on. And so that you'll get to see Lights Out. The two other novellas are Night at the Museum. That's by Lori Wilde, and it's at the Met. And the other one is Mind Games by Sarah Skilton, and that has the hero is a magician, like mentalist. It's really intriguing. And so you can get all 3 in one book. It's called Summer in the City, and it comes out at the end of May. It releases May 25th.
I'm so excited to see that on the shelves, and I have the great fortune of holding one in my hand right now. So, and thank you for sending that to me.
Sure. Enjoy. Happy reading.
I will. So thank you so much for being here. Come back again. And everybody, if you wanted to touch base with Priscilla, she is on her website. You can sign up for her newsletter. She's on Facebook. She's on Twitter. She's on Instagram. And she's got her newest book is out now. Anchored Hearts is the second book of the series. The first book is Island Affair. And then she has her anthology coming out with Lori Wilde and Sarah Skilton, Summer in the City. That is the end of the month. So that is just enough time for you to read those first 2 books and then read that one. And then if you read really fast, she's got even more books that you can find on her website. So check them out. So please come back and talk to us again.
It's always such a pleasure chatting with you. I'm looking forward to next time I visit San Antonio, when I visit Familia there. Hopefully we can connect in person. But it's always a treat to get to be on the show. Thank you so much for the invitation. Everybody out there, please be safe. Thank any military person or any nurse. I hope you're masking up and, taking precautions, and wishing the best and good health to you and your loved ones, and happy romance reading.
Thank you so much, and we will talk to you very soon. This has been Patricia W. Fisher with
This show brought to you by Circle of Seven Productions, www.cosproductions.com. Please be sure to subscribe, and welcome to our circle.